Podcast 897. WWD So Wrong.
And welcome, everyone, to the MyMac.com podcast. This is show number 897, as Gaz just said, so I don't know why I said it again. Now, last week, we made a lot of predictions for the keynote of WWDC, and I am proud to say that we got everything right, which is a total lie. We didn't get much right, other than the date. So,
yeah, you know,
the date we had right. That was kind of about it.
Yeah.
I think, Gaz.
Hello. I'm good. I think we just got to throw a lot of Jello at the wall, and some of it's going to stick. But I think it wasn't a very sticky wall. That's all.
Yeah, and I don't think it was Jello.
No.
So,
no.
and unfortunately, not being Jello and not being a sticky wall didn't stick.
No, still didn't help, even though it wasn't Jello. No.
Yeah. Whoops. Sorry about that. Last couple of weeks, I keep hitting my microphone.
Well, you perhaps need a new one.
Well, it's funny you should say that.
You're not using a different mic today, are you?
I'm using a different mic than I did last week. Last week, I used the Rode NT USB Mini with Rode Connect software, which honestly, it's great software and they're great microphones, but it did kind of mess me up because I had audio recording like everywhere, and I forgot to hit the record button for the video. So all of those times in last week's show where you heard us say something like, oh, well, this will make more sense if you watch the video.
There was no video to watch.
There's no video to watch, so it's not going to make any sense at all.
Oh, dear.
And so for the 2 or 3 of you that actually watch the video that I handcraft nearly every single week, just for you, you were going to be very disappointed about last week's show. But this week,
what I'd like to know, though, is those people that watch the video, do they also listen to the podcast?
No, they're not allowed to listen to the podcast if they watch
that's video. Right. Yeah.
Those. I'm sorry.
Download
those
and
are
watch,
the rules.
but not
those
listen.
are the rules. That's right.
Yeah.
You have to have the volume turned all the way down. So you just see Gaz and I on the screen going, or something like that, which will be really funny if you watch the video.
And if you bother to record it this week. Yeah.
Now, one thing I did, not last week, but 2 weeks ago, I did make a couple of little snippets, and 3 of them were actually from the after show.
Okay.
So if you subscribe to VertShark over on YouTube, you'll have access to the weird little snippets that I did. And they're usually like a minute or 2 long. They're not that long. And I'm probably going to keep doing that. Now, this is different than what I know we haven't even gotten started on this show yet. This is completely different than what Carl does. And he's turned me on to a program called Overcast, which is another podcast aggregator, which will make little audio snippets, but in a video format so that you can use them basically anywhere.
Yep.
Every time I try to do it on the Mac, though, it crashes. So I guess I've got to do it like in iOS or iPadOS or something like that. All right, we're going to get off of all of that and get back on track to the train wreck that is the MyMac.com podcast.
We should.
Thank you. We really, really should. So I was talking to my son, Peter, over messages. I guess it was sometime last week. And he's going to see Sir Paul in Baltimore on the 20. No, it's later this month. Sometime in June, he's going to go see Paul McCartney in Baltimore.
He's going to see
Sir Paul.
Why does it say Ringo Starr in the show notes?
Because that's the story.
Okay.
Ringo Starr and the All-Star Band are playing on the 21st of June in Richmond, Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And he casually mentioned, boy, wouldn't it be fun if we could all get together and go see Ringo before his girlfriend Liza and him, my son, go to Baltimore to see Sir Paul.
Right.
And I thought about it, and it was like, yeah, that would be fun. And then I also figured, well, Guy and Ashley are right there in Richmond, so let's bring them into this. And then the next thing I know, Peter's friend Jake, who he goes to Florida every year, gets pulled in too. And it's like, okay, so now there's 7 of us going to see Ringo Starr and the All-Star Band in Richmond, Virginia on the 21st, I believe, which is a Tuesday.
Right.
And I got to tell you this, it will make the number of Beatles that I've seen in concert to 1. I haven't seen any of them, even growing up, because in the 70s, when I was when I was going to rock concerts, and this is not a dig on Paul McCartney or any of the Beatles, but their individual music that they were making at the time was not really something I was into. I was into like hard rock and all of that. And it's unfortunate because I had many opportunities to see, well, not John Lennon, but all the rest of them. And I never did. I never went to go. So I'm finally going to see a Beatle.
You'll be one up on me.
Oh, you've never seen any of them either?
No.
Well, I mean, they live in the UK, so I figured you must have seen them like in the shops or something.
Oh, I've seen them in the shops, but I've never seen them play music. Yeah.
Okay.
Live.
Okay. So Paul doesn't just walk around with a big Hofner bass guitar and just as he's walking down the street.
Yeah.
I'm 64.
That's what annoys me about these so-called pop stars. It's just all rubbish, isn't it?
They don't know when to just stop performing. All right.
They don't know.
And fortunately for everyone, or maybe unfortunately for everyone, it's in the middle of the week, so it won't interfere with doing the MyMac podcast any more than it's already going to be
interfered with. Yeah.
So, I just saw what you had listed here, and I'm going to shut up because
will you let me finish?
I was about to jump on your thunder, so I'm going to stop. But that's basically all I got going on.
You can jump on my thunder in a second because I've got a piece to add on to it. So earlier in the week, I did for Mac Eyes Only reaction time with Mike Potter, and basically there was just the 2 of us, which made it a little bit difficult because I was trying to be intellectually clever in listening to Mike and responding to any of his questions. And if he asked me a question about something, I then had to react to him. Well, that's fine on its own. But when you are then watching not only a feed from various different companies who are, doing the live blog on what's happening at WWDC in one ear, you also got the live WWDC playing, and it's also on video, and try to do those other things, combine it all together. I just, it just makes it very difficult. So we actually both concluded at the end of that particular WWDC keynote guy that we weren't overly impressed. We thought it was solid, but we weren't overly impressed. I think, that wasn't, it was probably on the wrong side of the pendulum though, because since I've had a time to revisit the keynote and see what's coming out, possibly it should have been more on the more positive side of that particular pendulum. But anyway, I put it down to the fact that Mike and I were trying to do a reaction time whilst doing too many other things for the reaction time. When there's like 3 or 4, it's easy because, a couple of you can talk about something and then someone else can interject with, they've brought this, they're talking about this, and they've got other data to be on top of it. But it was still good. Hard to do with just 2 people, though. It is very difficult to do with just 2 people. And Mike said that he was very, very honored that you had stepped up in terms of what's it called? coming in July.
The MacStock conference.
MacStock. That's it. Yeah.
Mike, you don't have to listen to this part.
I was thinking about WWDC in my head. I still had that in my head. I thought it's got nothing to do with WWDC. So he was very happy, and also he'd like to thank you. He'd like to thank you personally, which he will do when you see it. But it just blows him away just how much help that you.
Well, here's what's going to happen, Gas. On Friday, when I get to Chicago on Thursday. When I see Mike on Friday, he's going to be so nice and so grateful and thanking me. And then Saturday and Sunday, Monday, he'll want to run me out of town on a rail.
I've warned him. Don't worry, I've already warned him.
Good. Yeah. So he's as long as he's pre-disappointed, that's the important bit right there.
Yeah, don't worry about that. And on Thursday, I joined in with Carl and the crew.
Nice.
Yes, Alan and Steve. And we did a Mac and Forth show, which was a review of WWDC. He said that he was going to split it into 2 weeks because he didn't think he'd be able to get through everything in the hour that he normally allows himself to do the show. And I think he was expecting to have done more than just iOS, though. Which is
that's all you guys got through was just iOS.
I think we got iPad OS, a little bit of iPad OS in there as well. So yeah. But it was good.
Okay, so that's all about iOS, and then there's another thing called iPad OS. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, a bit like that. Yeah, a bit like that. So I was in front of MyMac a couple of times this week to do those reaction times. Oh yeah, it was good. So now snippets are going to be. Guy and I did have a chat yesterday, folks, and I asked Guy whether we were going to cover the WWDC items in the second section, and we kind of had a bit of a backwards and forwards of whether we should or not. And I had a bit of a laugh with Carl actually saying that I could pinch his show notes, that my plagiarism of other people's show notes and show information, it knows no bounds, Guy. It doesn't matter. None at all.
Why limit yourself to just one?
However, we're gonna take a slightly different slant in the second section. And Guy said to me rather foolishly, "Well, you can cover off most of the stuff that they did at WWDC in the snippet section." And I thought, well, I could.
Well,
just bear with me. And I'm kind of going to, but not completely, because you can never cover everything off that's in WWDC. No. So,
however, people who listen to this show, I would hope also listen to other Mac shows.
Yeah. Yes.
Please.
Precisely.
So this is like this week and this weekend is going to be so filled.
Yeah.
With shows doing, well, here's what we think about WWDC, that by the time you get to the end of it, you're going to be like, oh, who almost said bad word cares anymore?
Yeah. So although I will be touching on some of the items, it's not an in-depth snippet review of everything that's happened. I've just picked out some stories.
And the other thing to remember is at this stage of development of iOS and iPad OS and the Mac OS and all the rest of it, there's going to be so many changes to what is actually released in the third and fourth quarters of 2022, that anything we talk about today or anything any show talks about today is going to be vastly different from what is actually released. So, bear that in mind as well.
So let me jump in with this week's Gaz's Snippets. Okay, so the first few snippets are actually mainly from Apple, hinting at some of the information
on a Mac show.
Shocker.
I know.
Yeah, I'm not plagiarizing anybody here. I'm stealing direct from Apple. Okay,
excellent, very good.
Watch OS 9 delivers new ways to stay connected, active, and healthy. Hurrah!
Yeah, yay!
To that. Although they're doing it on the phone as well.
What did we say about what we said? Okay, what we said last week: power saving mode to make it last longer, better health heart monitoring with activity tracking, fitness plus, blah, 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 meh.
Yeah. Apple unveils all new MacBook Air supercharged by the new M2 chip. And we're going to be talking about the M2 and M1 chips later, so I'll come back to a little bit.
Now, for hardware, we said that there was not going to be any hardware released at all.
No, I disagree with you. I think we may have said that there might be a MacBook. I think we may have said if there's anything, it'll be a Mac, a MacBook of some sort. So I'm going to give us half a point there.
Well, give yourself half a point because I was like,
we're a team.
No,
we're a team, guy. We're a team.
Okay, all right.
Apparently,
I'll take half credit for something I had nothing to do with.
Apple, although I did say that they wouldn't actually bring out the M2 chip,
Which they did.
Apple unveils M2 with breakthrough performance and capabilities. Not sure they're breakthrough, Apple. Not sure they're quite breakthrough.
Yeah,
but,
next section.
Mac OS Ace Ventura brings powerful productivity tools, new continuity features to the Mac.
Let's
not dwell on it.
We're not going to, but there were some really big UI changes, which I don't think either one of us had anticipated.
No. Us anticipate something?
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's like, there's a stop sign. What am I supposed to do in my car now? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to anticipate that I don't need to stop. Apple unveils buy now, pay later feature with redesigned iPhone lock screen. Now, I don't think that they brought the buy now, pay later feature with the redesigned iPhone lock screen. I think it's an addition. So I just wanted to raise that.
Yeah, well, they didn't. The weird thing was they didn't talk about that. They talked about the lock screen and they talked about the buy now, pay later thing, but I don't think they talked about them both in the same breath.
Correct. That was the article. I was being nasty to the article, of course.
Good.
iPad OS 16 takes the versatility of iPad even further.
Yes, so we were partially right.
Crack those eggs. Crack those eggs. I like this one because this is from Apple. Remember, this is from Apple. I love this. This is the headline. Apple provides developers with even more powerful technologies.
Huh. Go figure. I know, I'm stunned. It was like, I was really anticipating new spaghetti sauce rather than more powerful features for developers. So I'm disappointed.
Apple passkeys could finally kill off the password for good. Can I just raise a point here? Whoever wrote this, and I won't tell you who I've got it from, but it's not really Apple's. It's part of another process, which is the FIDO group of organizations. I don't know it's the FIDO organizations, but it's a setting. And I'm not overly keen on what they brought out. I think they could have done a lot better. And that's FIDO, not Apple. But we can perhaps talk about that in the future. Apple's finally making the iPad more like a Mac, for multitasking at least. I disagree with that statement, and we may talk about that again.
I actually don't, but go ahead.
No. What, you think it is more like the Mac?
I think, well, it's more like the Mac in the way that the Mac is coming up with Ventura.
So now here's a question to you, because you were always worried about this. Do you think that they are making the iPad more Mac-like or the Mac more iPad-like, or just driving them centrally together?
I think they're driving them together. And that's actually a much smarter approach than anything I had anticipated, which, really. Like,
Shocker.
I know. It's like, what? Apple, a huge multi-billion trillion dollar company, isn't going to do what a random podcaster blogger wants in Alexandria, Virginia? I am stunned. So,
CarPlay features that are actually coming in iOS 16, because they did mention, and they went on about CarPlay quite a lot, didn't they?
They did.
With the new full screen, but that won't be coming in iOS 16. That's only going to come in some of the new cars that have capability to bring.
Yeah, they kind of hedged their bets with that. It's like, oh, you're going to see this eventually.
Eventually.
It's going to come out, and my God, you will say, wow. But we're not going to tell you what car manufacturers, and we're not going to give you a date. We're just going to show you these screenshots and watch you lose your collective minds for the next 2 years.
However, in iOS 16, there may well be some fueling and driving task apps which actually are improved. So there might be some interesting stuff that comes in CarPlay when we get to iOS 16 moving forward. So that's good. Now, I'm just going to go through these because they announced the design winners, the Apple 2022 Design Awards. And in inclusivity was Procreate and Wildflowers. One is an app, one is a game. Well, I suppose they're both apps. Just one's a gaming app.
Procreate is actually, that's a really good app.
What, Procreate? I think that's what humans do all the time. Delight and...
Well, otherwise we'd all be like not here. Delight
and fun. These are headings, Guy. So under delight and fun, it was habits and overboard. Interaction, slopes, a musical story. Social impact, Rebel Girls and Gibbon Beyond the Trees. Visual and graphics, Halide Mark II or Halide and the Lego Star Wars Castaways game. Innovation, Audio and Marvel Future Revolution, which is a game. So there you go. I've just gone through the details on that. You can take what you like.
Well, you know what I'd like to see them do with Lego? I would like to see a Gilligan's Island Lego edition.
I couldn't be bothered. I'm moving on.
Okay.
Apparently, there have been some references found to an unreleased HomePod model found in the iOS 16 beta, Guy. Ooh.
Or it could just be leftover code that they didn't remove as they were developing the app.
Precisely. Anyway, suck on those, wine gums. Apparently, iOS 16 does expand support for game controllers and now works with Nintendo's Joy-Cons and Pro controllers. I presume those are Joy controllers.
Yeah. But, if you're going to game, why wouldn't you just use them with a Nintendo Switch instead of trying to match them up with iOS games that they weren't originally designed to use?
Moving off WWDC, we may come back later. USB-C iPhones mandatory from 2024 as the EU Common Charging Port Agreement has been reached.
Good.
Yeah, but by the time we come to 2024, the USB-C will be old hat and it'll have to be something else.
Yeah, it'll be the tornado connector.
Apparently, Gene Munster. Gene Munster.
La 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 la. Hold on a second.
Anyway, with Gene Munster.
Oh, you're killing me here.
News out. Gene Munster.
Thank you. Thank you for waiting.
Can I finish? Yeah, will you let me finish? Will you let me finish?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Apparently, he said WWDC 2022 shows why Apple's great for consumers and investors. We don't give any. We don't give any investing advice, but Gene Munster apparently does.
And now, Gene Munster. Wow, way to just like jump out on that limb, Gene. That's why they pay you the big bucks.
Yeah. And I said this, I think I've said this, and I think I've heard a few people talk about this, and we did mention tvOS. In fact, I was talking about HomeKit, a new interface for tvOS, but Apple didn't mention tvOS at all in WWDC.
I'm telling you, I think the Apple TV as a platform, as a hardware platform, is going away, and they're going to concentrate on adding more features and capabilities to the Apple TV app.
Here's one thing that people are talking about from WWDC. Now you'll be able to edit those ill-advised iMessages. So for up to 15 minutes after the message has been sent, you can then either edit or delete it. What I'm more interested in was the fact that you could actually mark a message as unread if you read it, because I often use that capability to remind me that I've got to do something with that message. Looking forward to that. There are a number of Ventura features that are exclusive to Apple Silicon powered Macs.
Not a surprise.
I think we'll probably learn a lot more about that over the next few weeks, and we'll probably be going through that when somebody comes up with a appropriate list of which Macs can do what with which software. Stage Manager, it's a great. It looks great. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure about that. But apparently, if you want it on the iPad, it's a very expensive upgrade because it can only be used on M1 maps. M1 iPads at least. So that could be quite
honestly, that's again, but actually to throw some shade at Apple, the M1 and the M2 are all based on the A14 and A15 processors, and we'll talk more about processors in the next section. But because they're based on those, why the hell wouldn't it work?
Yeah.
Come on, Apple.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So I think it's power, processing power, which is the issue there. I like this headline. Apple is finally adding some of Gmail's best features to its own email apps. Hurrah! Cheeky.
Okay.
The difference between the MacBook Air and the Pro, how the redesigned MacBook stacks up. Now, we had quite a lot of interesting discussion around that off air, I think, on Mac and Forth. And also Mike and I had a lot of discussion about 13-inch MacBook Pro. Why?
Yeah, why bother?
So I think that's going to cause quite a lot of controversy moving forward in terms of
because it's a 13.6-inch screen for the new MacBook Air versus a 13-inch screen for the MacBook Pro.
Well, if you define it, whichever way you measure the screen, even if there is a slight difference, and even if the MacBook Pro was bigger, you're still calling it a 13-inch, and it just seems a bit odd. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see where they're going to go with that.
Honestly, that new MacBook Air, I was because
you were drooling, weren't you? You were drooling.
I've got a 2018 MacBook Air, and it's fine. It does everything I might expect it to do. But when I saw them roll out the new MacBook Airs, it actually looks like a laptop instead of a cheese cutter. I was like, wow. And then with the colors too. And I don't want to be that guy who's like, wow, I'm so impressed because it has colors. But that midnight blue is just...
That's an ELO song, by the way. Anyway,
no, that Midnight Blue. That's not ELO. That's the guy from Foreigner. I can't remember his name.
No, they did do
Lou Graham. Lou Graham.
They did do one Midnight Blue as well. I think it might be.
No, that's Lou Graham. I think.
No. They did one with Midnight Blue in the song itself. It might not be the song name. I can tell you that is right.
Okay. I want to spend the next half hour arguing about this.
In the next break, I'll find it for you.
Okay.
iOS 16 appears to open the door for Chromecast and other casting standards in the apps. Just look like they're starting to open the door. Now, whether that's because of legislation that is coming their way, I do not know. Apparently, Apple will also allow Linux VMs to run Intel apps with Rosetta in Mac OS Ventura. Now,
how could that possibly go wrong?
Why?
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm going to install Linux so that I can have a virtual machine running Windows to run Mac OS apps. You know why? Because I can.
Just buy an older Mac.
Yeah, for God's sake.
And they'll be cheaper.
Yeah, just get a 2015 and 2017 27-inch iMac, which are great machines, and then just throw friggin' what's it called? Boot Camp. Throw Boot Camp on it. Run Windows all effing day. All right, that's all you got to do.
God. Now I'm only bringing this up because I kind of gone off Apple TV Plus a little bit in announcing some of their shows, but I thought I'd bring this one up mainly because I'm quite interested in it, in so much as Apple TV Plus acquires the untitled Formula One film starring Brad Pitt. So we shall wait and see how that looks. Apparently, TSM's
it's odd that they've called a movie untitled.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, weird. This is a shocker, Guy. You will fall off your chair when I tell you this headline.
Okay.
TSMC to start mass production of new 3 nanometers M2 Pro chip later this year.
See, I was ready to start. Yeah, that's me being shocked.
Yeah. And then there was another headline about iPadOS 16. There are new features only exclusive to M1 apps, which we've already touched on, but I think now you've found it, you can't stop using it.
No. That's the last time I'll use it.
There's a company called Affirm, and the chief executive officer, Max Levchin, claims he's not worried about Apple's new buy now, pay later service. Well, good for him. We'll see whether he's still worried in a year's time.
Tim McSweeney wasn't worried about not having Fortnite on iOS. He wasn't worried about that at all.
Not at all. Apple Safari has topped North America's mobile browser market with 50% share. Shocker.
I still want to hit that again, but I'm not.
No, please don't. Apparently, Apple has lost the trademark for the iconic "Think Different" tagline after a swatch battle in the EU. You
just keep giving me things that I can't do that with. But I won't play it.
3 days later.
Then there was a headline which I put in I was going to read, but then I thought, no, I can't be bothered. And it was about the iOS features that won't be available at iOS 16 launch. But there you go.
They don't know. They really don't know. For all we know, half the crap they talked about with iOS 16 won't be available at launch.
Apple owns subsidiary to manage Apple Pay later credit checks and loans without a bank partner. So as I did mention on Guy's show, and I think also on the FME show. Sorry, I'm just going to give myself a little bit more light because it's suddenly got a bit darker. Apple are becoming a bank, Guy, it seems.
Well, they certainly have more money than most banks. Real cashy money.
Real cashy money in the banks. Huh?
Yes.
How does that work then?
They have their Apple Vault.
U.S. Senate
buried there in Cupertino.
Will you let me finish?
Yes, I will.
When I start talking, that's your hint to shut up, right?
Yeah, right. Like that's ever worked.
The U.S. Senate are likely to pass a bill to bar Apple, Google, and other tech firms from favoring themselves in searches. I think that has a whole load of connotations myself, but I don't want to favor myself at all.
Well, thank God that the U.S. Congress and the U.S. Congress, which are so up on technology, so every single year they prove that they just know what they're talking about when it comes to tech.
They hit it out the park, don't they? They hit it out the
It's
park.
like over the wall. There it goes. So thank God they're getting involved.
Apparently, I picked this one up. watchOS 9 adds new APIs for sharing and voice over internet protocols apps on Apple Watch. So you may well be able to make calls through.
Yeah, hooray. Skype calls on my watch.
That'll be interesting. Apple developer lawsuit, Guy. The judge.
Damn it. No, I'll be good. I won't do it.
You will love this. This will make you spit. A judge has accepted a $100 million deal, but has questioned why the lawyer's cut was $27 million.
I don't have all my loops. Those lawyers, they have all their loops. They've got $27 million worth of loops.
Now, with a new lock screen that you're going to be able to put on your phones, there are going to be lots of widgets that you can use, and somebody's come out with a list of widgets. I have a feeling there may be a few more when we finally get to the fall and the release of iOS 16.
Isn't it weird that technology that we thought was dead, namely dashboard, has now come back in the form of an iOS lock screen? Okay.
Yeah.
Bring it.
Bring it on.
I'll have to start redoing again the dashboard minute. Call it something. The lock screen minute. I wonder if that URL is taken.
You go to search for it. Don't worry, you've got time because this isn't going out live.
Okay.
Now, quite a sad thing, really, and a bit ironic. This an Apple reseller called Simply Mac, which I think is an American one, has shut down. I think that's really quite sad if you think about it, considering how well Apple is doing. But the fact that a reseller, a well-known reseller, has had to shut down.
Well, can I interject here?
You can.
This is the company. Do you remember it was a long, long time ago when I gave my old 2010 Mac Pro to my son, Peter?
Yep.
And he was having all kinds of troubles with the graphics card. And eventually what we found was it was the cable going from the motherboard to the card that supplied the card with extra power. Well, the place where I went to get that cable was Simply Mac there in Fredericksburg. And what a lot of people don't know about this company is it was originally started by GameStop,
correct,
which is a big game retailer here in the US. And they had some, let's say creative accounting issues. And then they were bought out by this other company, and suddenly after a couple of years now they're having creative accounting issues. So and it's sad that a company providing support for Mac users in areas that Apple doesn't have a large presence is gone. That is sad. But the part that's even worse is all of the people that have their machines currently at Simply Mac stores are in limbo, wondering how they're going to get their computers back. Because they've literally, I mean, the president of Simply Mac has basically fired everyone and locked the doors.
Ryan Voigt.
Yeah, so he and Tim McSweeney, I think, should have children together because they're kind of cut from the same cloth.
That would be an interesting child. Anyway, I'll move on from that slightly sad piece of news.
And I'll have to remember to bleep out.
That's two you got to do now.
I know, but he is. He totally is.
An AirTag has been used by the police to track down a serial thief in North Carolina.
Yeah.
We're just going to keep hearing about those, aren't we?
Yeah. No great
now,
loss.
the question, we did bring this up about CarPlay a little bit earlier, but now there was a question. Will automakers really let Apple's CarPlay take over all of the vehicle's screens? Interesting point. You say yes. Okay. Okay. There has been a release for macOS Big Sur 11, which is a release 11.6.7 with a mail app fix. I'm not quite sure what it's a minor update. But it was a release because of an issue with mail. So, if that's
that wasn't even the current Mac OS. That was the last Mac OS.
That's the last. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Apple Maps adds multi-stop routing and more. Now, we had a bit of a joke on this with Mac and Forth, certainly, in terms of saying, it'll do up to 19 places where you can stop. But the problem is it'll take you backwards and forwards and zigzagging all over the place to get there. But I have been waiting for this for a long time because whenever I do a route, the amount of times when we're going on holiday, if we're traveling somewhere, we'll say, we could just go over to there and then go over to there and go over to there. And
then you lose your original place that you were trying to go to.
Yeah. So
does Google Maps or Waze, do they do that already?
Waze,
or is this
I think
exclusive?
Waze does it. I think Waze does it. But it's never been as easy as some of the old TomToms that you could use. So I am looking forward to setting that up.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just go through this. I got another Apple TV series, which is Apple TV Plus announces a new series called Sugar, starring Colin Farrell. So Don't know. That's going to be now that program is going to be sweet.
Oh, okay. See, I get jokes. The weird thing is now Colin Farrell has had such an interesting career, and he's played like all different kinds. He was Bullseye in Daredevil. He was really the best part of that movie, frankly. He was just the Penguin in the last Batman movie. And I mean, he's really a chameleon when it comes to the parts that he plays. So anything that I see that has him in it, I am almost always willing to give the benefit of a doubt until I see it, at least. A lot of times, I mean, there are some actors where I'm like, wow, he's in that. I so don't want to see it just because that person is in it. But with Colin Farrell, it's the exact opposite. And no, this isn't the Colin Farrell love fest.
A California district court judge has dismissed a proposed class action complaint against Apple for allegedly selling iPhones and iPads containing ARM-based chips with known flaws. They'll do anything. I did mention actually on Mac and Forth show that I thought that just watch out for the first class action lawsuit where a couple have lost all of their photos with the new sharing option because one or the other of the partners deleted all of the photos by mistake outside of the period of when they could keep them, and then they've lost them all. So watch out for one of those. A lot of
times they probably will do it on purpose just so that they can do a lawsuit.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like, don't either, number one, don't do that. Don't do things deliberately just so that you can do a lawsuit. Number two, before you use new technology, learn how it works.
You dumbass.
Oh, God. Yeah, you dumbasses. Learn how it works first.
Apparently, the Glasgow in Scotland Apple Store employees are to become, are to become the first UK branch to unionize, Guy.
Oh, okay. Well, if that's what they want to do.
Some would say bring back Margaret Thatcher, but I'm not going to. Well,
that would be kind of hard.
It would, yes.
And she does not have a good look right now, I got to tell you.
This isn't so good, but it's an AirTag stalking cop has been charged and relieved of duty after an ex-girlfriend heard of anti-stalking alerts.
Good.
Yeah.
He should be
good. That's good, but not good, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's
not
bad
that he was doing it,
but it's good that he's been relieved of duty.
Absolutely. That means he's probably free to do it as much as he wants now.
No, that's true. So, happy ending all the way around.
Oh dear, we're going to be in so much trouble for that.
I know. And you can substitute my name in this.
The president is an utter moron.
There you go.
Apple and Google's mobile browser stranglehold may face a UK investigation. May. Now, I know that you were looking forward to this. I know that you hadn't heard about this. And I know that this is going to be such a surprise to you that you will fall off your chair. Apple and Major League Baseball announce July Friday night baseball schedule. Mr. Tim Cook. Yes, Tim.
You don't have it ready. That's why you did that.
No, it's just I couldn't be bothered to go to that one and go.
Okay.
See, I found that still quicker than you would have found another one.
Yes, but you know how long it took?
12 seconds later.
Apple CEO Tim Cook has penned a letter calling on the US lawmakers. I read that. Do you know, when I first read this, it made me laugh because I actually read it as Apple CEO Tim Cook pens a letter calling on US lawn makers. I thought, what's he talking about grass for? Anyway, it's the lawmakers to pass.
He does live in California.
That sort of grass. All right.
Okay. Kentucky blue. That's what it is.
To pass a federal privacy law as soon as possible. We shall wait and see what happens on that.
Yeah.
Apple has again updated the App Store guidelines to comply with the Dutch government requirements. I'm not sure whether they are now obviously not paying that $5 million a week fine, or not. It doesn't look like they are.
Which is a big disappointment to the Dutch government. They're like, damn it. What kind of conditions can we put back so that we can get that $5 million a week?
Yeah. Tell them it's all right, and then tell them again it's not all right.
Okay. Yeah. Just bring it around. Bring it around.
Yeah. Back to the grass. Apple has explained why Stage Manager is limited to M1 pads in a new statement. So they're already having to explain why something won't be available in non-M1 iPads.
See, what they need to do is just not say anything, because it doesn't matter. Because the people who are willing to forgive them for anything won't care, and the people that want to blame them for everything
will just rip it apart. They'll
just do it anyway.
They'll just rip it apart anyway. Yeah. And that is the end of Gaz's snippets.
And I just hit my microphone again. Stop doing that, guy.
Well, stop doing that silly movement.
Yeah, well, if I could.
If you could, you would.
I would, but I can't.
I've got no link. I've got no link for you this week, I'm afraid. So,
nothing about your mom?
No, she's off signing autographs and stuff. So that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, it's good to know that her career continues on. All right, so I think that is going to do it for this part of the show, Gaz. So everyone, stand by for different kinds of links for Gaz's mom on another show. I'm going to start that again because it was really going nowhere. Everyone, please stand by. And the G-Men will be right back. I almost had something there, but I decided not to.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the mighty MyMac podcast with the G-Man, Guy and Gaz. Yes, we are still here. It's incredible. We do this every week, and we come back for every second half of the show every week. On and on and on and on we go. It's like a couple of Duracell ducks that just keep on waddling along. And this week, we are going to be talking about M1 versus M2.
Dun. Oh, I don't even know why I went dun, 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 because I've got something for that, but I won't play it. Guys.
Good.
Of course, I think apart from all of the big news that happened at WWDC this year, one of the huge surprises, I think, was the introduction of the M2 processor.
Surprised me.
It shocked the hell out of me. And because, I mean, let's face it, most of these, and we kind of hit on this last week, every single year you have all of these pundits that talk about, oh, they're going to release this hardware and this. And then when Apple doesn't, it's like, oh, that was the most disappointing thing ever. And that's exactly the way they sound when they say it. So I think we had both kind of said, well, there's not going to be any big hardware news on this because it's a developers conference. And then Apple just throws us a curveball and says, yeah, not only are we going to release an updated laptop, 2 updated laptops, but we're going to put our new processor in it, the M2. Now, there's a couple of things that you have to know about the M2. Number one, it doesn't outperform the M1 Pro or the M1 Max. The
Ultra,
base,
yeah.
Well, the Ultra is basically 2 Maxes that are like slammed together.
Yeah.
So, there's no way it could.
No.
And that shouldn't come as a big surprise because of the number of cores between the M2 and the M1 Pro and M1 Max. And when you compare the base M1 and M2, which is what we're going to do in this section, the base M1, when it was first released, had either 7 or 8 cores. The low end had 7. The M2 low end has 8, so it's got 1 more core than the other one. So didn't they kind of speculate that the reason they did that was so that they could take some of the M1 processors that didn't quite meet specs and still use them? if they had like a core or two out or a core out. So it would like improve their yield. It was something like that.
Possibly. I don't remember that.
Okay. And it didn't really matter because I think most people chose the 8-core M1 anyway.
Yeah.
Even though each has the same number of cores, there are performance tweaks like increased L2 cache, higher maxed GPU core count, and there's more available built-in RAM. You can get up to 24 gigs of RAM in the M2 versus 16 gigs for the M1.
Now, I don't know what the reasoning behind 24 is. 24 is better than 16, but a lot of people going, scratchy head time, why isn't it 32? And I'm sure it's some architecture process, which is...
it's half of 42, which is the answer to life, the universe, and everything.
That's very true. It's not
because
it's not half.
Twice 24. Twice 24 would be 56.
Although,
so we know that.
No, it wouldn't.
No, it's not.
No,
math is hard.
No, but interestingly, Guy.
Yeah.
If you double 24, you get 48. If you then add 4 and 2 together and take it off 48, you get 42. Hey, didn't think about that, did
you?
You see, this is the sort of stuff you don't. This is the sort of stuff you don't get on other shows.
No, you don't.
This is why this is an intellectual, in-depth review of the M's.
Sure it is. Now, both of these chips are on a 5 nanometer die. Sorry, processors are on a 5 nanometer die. So along with what's already mentioned, there's probably some performance enhancing tricks that Apple has learned since the introduction of the M1.
Yep.
Now, according to Apple, the neural engine and associated cores with the neural engine, within there's 16, I think it's 16 cores for the neural engine, which is their big AI.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. Well, these are supposed to be 40% faster for the M2 over the base M1. And the new media engine, which the base M1 doesn't have, makes a big difference in media consumption and generation. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Media consumption and creation, though the M1 is also no slouch, as both you and I have found out when it comes to audio and video encoding. Now, the big difference is the media engine in the M1 is the same one that they had in the A series processor that the M1 was derived from. So interestingly enough, the M1 Pro and the M1 Max also have a newer media engine, which was one of the big improvements that they also had over the M1. So even though it's on, it's same number of cores, it's on the same 5 nanometer die, there's more. Somehow they managed to cram in a few million or billion more transistors, and I don't get how they do this. I mean, it's effing magic is what it really is. That they're able to cram that many transistors onto something that's like just so small. Now,
yeah, you couldn't get your soldering iron out, could you, and fix it? Really, it's not.
No, no. It's like you'd have to have a tip that was like so small, and the slightest little mistake would be like, okay, well, so much for that chip. We're on to the next one. Now the M2, and we're not going to spend a lot more time on this. The M2 is a nice upgrade over the M1.
Can I just jump in here though? It is a nice upgrade. So when you're comparing M1 base to M2 base, like you are, if you remember, we both went for the M1 Mac Minis when they came out. And I think we had this discussion around they are either going to knock the M1 out of the park as a first part of the processing. So, so that they can either show off or it's going to be a real donkey. As far as we're concerned from Apple. And everybody thought, actually, if they're going to come out with something, they are going to hit it out of the park. And it's going to be so rugged and rigid, and it's going to be a super upgrade to anything that you're going to get. Now, the M2 has come out, and the differential is not like the differential you used to get with the Intel leaps. And I don't think we're capable of doing that anymore anyway. So don't say...
Moore's law is dead.
Yeah. So don't think that an M1 now is not worthy of your purchasing, folks, because it is very much worthy of your purchasing. It is still an absolutely superb chip.
Even the base M1. Like my son Peter, and I know I keep bringing family into this, I told him, because he has my old Mac Pro, and that's what he's been using for video editing and all the rest of that, mostly just because of how much storage you can put in one of those things. He was saying that he wanted to move up to an M series Mac, and I told him to wait until after WWDC to see what Apple was going to do. And once WWDC was over, I was like, yeah, just go ahead and get the M1 Mac Mini, the same one that we have.
I've got a bit of a story on that, the discussion we had with Carl at the end, but I'll let you finish your piece first, and then we'll just chat.
Okay.
About that.
Well, and that's what, and he's getting pretty much a fully maxed out M1 Mac Mini. So 16 gigs of RAM, 2 terabytes of storage. And honestly, even now, almost a year and a half after it's been introduced, all of the computers with M1 processors in them still worth getting, even though the M2 has just come out. If you want to spend a little bit more and get slightly like 15 to maybe 30% faster processing under certain circumstances with certain programs, then sure, it's your money, you spend it how you want. But the M1, the base M1 Macs, the original Mac Mini, the MacBook Air, the original MacBook Pro, and any other computers that had just the base M1, still worth getting today.
Absolutely.
Especially if you can find them refurb.
Okay.
So go ahead.
You was just going to say about... I was going to let you finish before I talked about
okay. Well, so I was just going to say that the M2 is a nice upgrade over the M1. And the fact that they put it in the base MacBook Air and the base MacBook Pro is less of a surprise now as it was that they were even announced at all during the keynote. And I think that the real test of what Apple's going to do with the M2 and going forward will be when we see the versions of the Max and the Ultra when they hit the street, the Pro Max Ultra when they hit the streets. Yeah.
So the discussion that we were having, and Carl was getting a little bit, not frustrated, but he was just kind of raising the issue of, okay, so what do I advise somebody to go for now with all of these different, versions coming out? The M2 is now announced. Should I get an iPad? And because I'd mentioned the fact that I think it is now the natural progression that 6 to 12 months after an M version has been announced, it will start to find its way into various versions of the iOS devices. So I'm wondering whether the iPhone this year, or maybe next year, but this year may have an M1 processor in it rather than an A-series processor in it. And I think that will be a natural progression. And the point you've kind of already made it, that I said to Carl was, if anybody wants my advice on buying a Mac, is define what type of Mac you need.
Yep.
Understand how much RAM and hard drive you want. And the only proviso I'd say is don't wait for an M2 version of that Mac. If there's an M1 version, don't be at all worried about getting an M1 version of that particular Mac, because the jump from Intel to the M version is so much greater than sitting around waiting to spend your money on going from an M1 to the M2 version. Just get the M1. It's good enough for, for the sort of stuff you're going to do. There was a bit of debate onto why on earth they brought a Mac Pro out with still the touch bar on it.
That was kind of a surprise.
That was,
You know what? But now that I'm thinking about it, I think that they're saving the 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros to have an M2 when the Pro or Ultra version, Pro or Max version of the M2 comes out.
Yeah, possibly.
And it wasn't that long ago that they just updated those. So
no, that's true. That's true.
What I'm looking forward to seeing, and I would have bought one if they'd come out with a new Mac Mini with an M2, because that's what I do.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said to Carl. I said, they're not pandering to the likes of us. They want as many retail sales as they can. So cool. I enjoyed that, Guy.
I did too.
Really did enjoy that.
And I'm ready this time.
Hit it. Gaz's tips.
Mostly.
Gaz's tips.
Mostly.
Don't hit the mic.
Tips.
It's time for
Gaz's tip. Guy, something I like about smartphones keyboards is that they use the unconventional ways to make your typing experience smoother and quicker. One of those features that helps in doing that is double tapping the space button to insert a period when you're writing on the keyboard on your smartphone or iOS device. Guy, what if you wanted that on your Mac? Well, there's a way that you can do it. You just go into System Preferences, Keyboard, Text, and enable the add period with double space option. And hey, voila, you've got the same option on your Mac. Isn't that good?
It is good, but before I've got something to add. In iOS, if for some reason you want to do all shouty letters, so that you basically want to have everything that you type in be capitalized. Uppercase, yes. If you double tap that little arrow that changes it from lowercase to uppercase,
it holds it.
It'll hold it, and you'll see a difference. Instead of just being lit or unlit, it'll be lit with a little tiny bar underneath.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, crikey. That's a Guy tip.
I know. Wow.
Nods head. Hit it. That's the end of Gaz's tips.
And Guy's
That's the end of Gaz's tips.
And Guy's
the end of Gaz's tips.
Guys, is that the end of the tip?
Will you let me finish?
Guys, you are absolutely right.
I'm going to need to look back to see when I started doing these tips, because there are so many, just so many.
And let's face it, because you have been doing this for, I'm guessing, for like 8-9 years, the tips.
Yeah,
not so much. I mean, we've been doing this show since 2010.
Yeah,
I think it was either 2010, 2011. It was so long ago, I can't remember. It was show 285 whenever that one came out. You have probably repeated some tips as time has gone on.
Yes, and some of those tips that I've repeated, I have remembered that I've repeated them and mentioned that, but some, no idea.
Yeah. And the thing is, because so many people jump in and out of various podcasts, it was new to them.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the part that matters.
Absolutely.
Let's see.
That was
what else
March.
we got going on?
Interestingly enough, MyMac 285 on the mymac.com website was delivered to the universe on March 19th, 2010. March 19th happens to be me and Mrs. G's wedding anniversary.
Now, it wasn't recorded on that day.
No. You see, you had to say
your wife would have killed you.
Well,
if you had done that.
Yeah, maybe. She's killing me now.
With her song. Anyway.
That wasn't the Did we mention that? Did we mention the fact that we were both right?
We didn't. Go ahead.
So I came up, Midnight Blue was brought up because of the color of the MacBook Airs, and I straight away jumped in because I'm a bit of an ELO gonk. Went, that's an ELO song. And then Guy went, no, it's a so-and-so song, which made me think, well, was it in the words of one of their songs? No, Midnight Blue was a single by ELO off the album Discovery. But Guy was also right in the fact that it was a Lou Reed. Did you say?
Lou Gramm.
From
Foreigner.
Yeah. So there you go. We were both right. Isn't that interesting?
Honestly, it's very scary.
Yeah. Very scary.
Very, 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 very scary. We don't have any feedback this week, but I would like to remind people that if you would like to leave a comment or review for the show, you can go to podchaser.com, leave a review there, and I haven't tried it yet. I guess I should just put a review in myself.
There are about 20 reviews in there which you haven't checked.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know why I haven't gotten my Woody or why he hasn't mentioned it. Because I have a bit of an OCD problem. So I know, another shocker. So many shockers in today's show, Gaz. If you would like to get a Woo tea, I know. If you'd like, okay, you know what? I have to do it now.
You see, there's the OCD kicking in, folks. Oh, dear.
Yeah.
So let me really upset Guy with his OCD.
His name was Guy.
Carry on, Guy.
Can I?
Yes.
Can I now?
Yes.
I don't know if I can.
You can. Go on, go for it.
If you would like to receive a Woo tea, that's big W, big O, big O, big T, little. See, I'm already having trouble.
You can't. Here you go.
Little I, little E. Exclamation mark. You can do so by doing a review, by calling into the show for the first time. Greg from North Carolina, I'm sorry, you are no longer eligible for a Woody for the times that you call in, because you've called us a lot, and you could completely redo your house and wallpaper from Woody's.
Because he really wants to.
Yeah, well, I don't know anybody that would, but you could if you wanted to. But go to podchaser.com, do a review for the show, or do it on mymac.com or any one of 1,000 other sites. But you have to let us know about it in an email. There's no audio review this week. I actually checked Skype just before we started the show today, and there wasn't anything there. If you would like to help contribute, it makes me laugh every single time, to this show, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/MacParrot. You can go to coffee, ko-fi.com/MacParrot, or pay a pal. Pay that pal at paypal.me/MacParrot. And frankly, we're just appreciative of the fact that you download and listen to the show, which we will get to later. Gaz, if people wanted to get a hold of, not me, but you, how would they do so?
Just do a bit of drumming there. Okay, getting the Z-Cars music going. And the reason I go for the Z-Cars music is because you can send an email to Gaz, G-A-Z,
Cars,
mymac.com, or on the Twitters, twitter.com/Gazmaz, G-A-Z, M-A-Z. Or you can contact both Guy and myself on the Twitters, twitter.com/Guy and Gaz, G-U-Y-A-N-D, wait for it, Z.
Cars.
You can also send an email to feedback@mymac.com. That's FWDBACK at mymac.com. I say that quickly because I'm sure you all know how to spell feedback.
Well, you know, they listen to this show, so let's not make assumptions here, Gaz.
He's the guy.
Is he? He's the guy for what? If you want
an email from Guy.
Boom.
Is that it? Oh, okay.
That's it. So, nice and short.
You still haven't done the
I did.
To that.
I did. You weren't listening. Did? Yeah, I did. You weren't listening.
Can you do it again for me, please?
No fool.
Thank you. I feel so much better now. I really do. It's amazing how two little words can help me along. If you would like to send me an email, you can do so by sending that to guy@mymac.com or podcast@vertshark.com. Speaking of Vert Shark, all you have to do is go on over to the tubes of you, look up, do a search for Vert Shark, and my channel will come up with all of the Vert Sharky stuff that's going to be in there, all of the odds and all of the vids. They'll all be there, as well as if you go to vertshark.com, it's all there as well. Don't forget, there's also Guy's Daily Drive, which I do usually twice a week, and I just talk while I'm on my way to work because.
So, can I just ask a question?
You may.
If you do Guy's Daily Drive twice a week, do you only go to work twice a week?
I now go to work 3 times a week.
But you only do your daily drive twice a week. Okay. Just asking.
I think that's enough punishment for anybody. Hello? No fooling. All right.
No fooling.
Yeah. We have a Skype number, Gaz.
No.
We do.
Now, Carl said, why do you keep touting this particular number? People can just pick up the phone, record on the phone, and send it to all of those other ways that we've got. He was actually quite adamant about that. He got quite frustrated. But no, Carl, Guy is going to tell everybody how they can contact us on Skype.
Several ways.
Mainly because he spent a lot of money on it and he won't get the credit back unless we use it.
I won't. Well, the weird thing, I must have put over the course of years and years and years, like $30 in total into this number. And it just doesn't seem to draw down that much. I don't know why. So that number, though, is 1 or +1 outside of the United States. 703-436-9501. That number again is 1 or +1 outside the United States. 703-436-9501. Or if a 1 or a +1 gives you hives, and I fully understand if it does somehow, you don't have to dial it. You can go right to your Skype application and just dial 703-436-9501. That's all the ways you can call that number and get a hold of us. Or, send us audio feedback and all the various ways that we just told you about earlier. Those work too. Usually. Sometimes Gaz will forward me stuff and it just seems to get lost in translation because, we speak different languages.
We do.
We certainly do. So, thank you. Thank you all so very, very much for downloading and freaking listening. Not just listening, freaking listening to the mighty MyMac.com podcast. We are ever, ever so grateful that you do so. And Gaz, for the 897th time, I think we're good enough.
Yes.
And I think that we're smart enough, though maybe not as much as last week.
No.
And that, before I say this last bit, I saw your Facebook post with the Where's Wolf Facebook post. I could not find that little part.
Right. I'll show you.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that in just a little bit. So Wolf gone it. Woof. Find that puppy. People like us.
Voglio veramente un M2 MacBook Air, ma mi tengo per vari COC a nuovi computer di desktop. Apple esce prima. I thought that was pretty good myself.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty damn good.
Of course, I don't know if anyone who actually speaks that language would be sitting there going, no, that's not going to do it.
What does a bee use to brush its hair, Guy?
I don't know.
A honeycomb.
I should have known that.
End.
So you can all go home and there's nothing to worry about. Get out of here now. Go on home and go home.